Before we get started, I would like to thank Tweaked Audio for helping sponsor this show. You listen to podcasts, obviously, so you know the value of a great pair of headphones. Get your own from Tweaked Audio by going to tweakedaudio.com and using the coupon code Southgate. With that code, you get 30% off on your order, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Order today and show your support to go fund this. Will, I am so excited to have you on this show. You've been on my shows before and never met me, so that's kind of funny. I'm excited to have you here. Why don't you tell people who you are and what you do?
Well, I am a writer, also a technologist, and I've been a professor teaching English at a local community college. I'm kind of on a bit of a sabbatical right now, trying to work on more of the writing stuff. But I love comics. I've actually published or been in 3 books about comics. One of them was actually nominated for an Eisner called Comics Through Time. So those are more academic books because of my academic background.
Yeah, it looks like something else I'm going to have to add to the Christmas list, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. It is. Sorry, that's my dog.
That's okay. Your dog likes it too, and we love dogs here. So,
anyway, my background is I do have an academic background. I've got a PhD in English, so it was always something fun to do for me to balance out the day-to-day technical stuff that I do because I work in technology.
Sure.
So, kept me from going too far insane, I guess is the way to put that. But I've also I just love comics. I've been a fan of comics for all my life, it seems like. And I got together with an artist, Gene Gonzalez, who was amazing, and we did a book called Diary of Night, which was 4 issues from, I think, Bloodfire Studios several years back. And then, which was weird to me because I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I'm like,
isn't that how we do this? We don't really know what we're doing, and we just jump in.
And nobody told me I couldn't do this, so I kind of did it. It was,
and even if they do, you still got to try, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that went over pretty well. I mean, I've got a lot of good feedback on it, and the art was gorgeous. Of course, we did. We also worked with a letterer that his name is Russ Wooten, who, I don't know. He worked on a little known indie book called The Walking Dead. I don't know if anybody's heard of that.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. But Russ was great to work with as a designer and as a letterer. And then I kind of started to get into some of the, I guess, indie comic scene a little bit and started, meeting some other creators, which was really awesome because, writing, well, comics in general, not just writing, but comics art, any of the things that we do in comics can often be kind of a solitary thing. So it's really great when you can reach out to other creators and just talk about, the stuff that you necessarily can't put on social media. Like, oh my God, I was so depressed today, I couldn't write a word. But,
right.
On social media, everything's great,
Yeah, right, so right. Yeah, it's funny. I interviewed Art Baltazar. I don't know if you know him, but he did Itty Bitty Hellboy and Tiny Titans. And he said when COVID hit, I interviewed him right when COVID hit. And he said, I've been in quarantine for about 18 years now because I'm a comic book writer. So, this is no big deal. He's used to it.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great, getting to meet all these people and seeing that we have a lot in common. And then just, it's great because other creators I know, like Kevin Joseph, who writes Tart, which is another long-running book on Kickstarter. He's pushing me to try to do things better, and we always it's really great, just the support mechanism. The comics community is really extremely supportive, and it's just wonderful. It really is.
Yeah, I have another show called Alley Chats, which you were on. That's what I was alluding to before. I didn't interview you there, but through that show, I mean, before that show, we knew a lot of creators in the comics industry, and they are just great people. And we started that show as a way to draw attention to these people. And it's even better. I mean, like we're seeing they're just craving the community. They're so supportive with each other. It's just a wonderful community to be in. And we're talking all the way from, I interviewed Peter Bagg the other day, who was just the loveliest guy in the world. And he's in indie comics. That's a pretty big name.
I think legend is probably the proper term.
Yeah, I would say so too. Although I got to tell you, Will, he said, he was telling me that he would do any con, and he said, I get invited to maybe 6 a year. And he said, out of those, if there's 500 people there, 5 will come up to my table. I'm like, I would go to the con because your name was on it.
That's right.
Like, I don't understand that. But I guess in indie comics, that is the legend status, right?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it's so wonderful. And especially this year when, we don't have, that normal physical camaraderie that we would normally get through cons, right? We're
Right.
stuck with, Zoom meetings or, email or Twitter, or, you pick your
Right.
medium there. And that's how we get to interact with each other. But it's honestly, that's something that this last year it's been, of course, really weird for everybody, I'm sure. But it was early on, it got, at least for me and several of the people I know, it got extremely difficult to kind of do the creative thing, just to keep going on a day-to-day basis. And
you weren't getting that fuel that you normally get, the external fuel.
Yeah. And it was kind of tough. So I reached out to Kevin and said, hey, I know I need to decompress. Maybe you do too. Maybe we can just get together on a big Zoom call with, we'll invite some of our other friends and and we've been doing that for months, and it's so awesome. Just sit and talk comics with, other creators. And we just, hey, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? Haven't you got that done yet? Where's my copy? I just backed it yesterday,
Right. It's a direct line to their Kickstarter, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, you've got a Kickstarter. Let's get there.
Okay.
Kickstarter you've got going right now is for Crossover Division.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about this project.
Well, it came about as I was jogging, and I was out running. I haven't run in a while, you can probably tell. So, but it's been a few years. But I got to thinking about the role that fictions play in our day-to-day lives, and how some things that really are fictions can be taken as truth and directly affect reality. So let me back up a little bit. I have an economics degree. That's my bachelor's degree. Then I've got a master's in English and a PhD in English. And one of the things that always surprised me is the term trickle-down economics, which is completely made up. It's
right.
There is no truth to it, but it's been the basis for policy by our government for 4 decades.
Right.
So you have this fiction, this lie, that has somehow warped reality,
right,
to change it so that it's suddenly quote unquote true. And I got to thinking about, how could I kind of dramatize that? And I got to thinking, what if stories started taking over reality? How would you fight that? Why would that happen? And there are reasons we get into in the book, of course. But so I came up with Crossover Division, and I have 2 agents, an English professor, I wonder where that came from, and a research librarian.
Let me guess, they consult an economics professor every once in a while.
Maybe we'll get into that later.
We'll get there.
But they basically have to kind of run around and stop these incursions of these fictional realities, because there are these super fans that become so into, or just fixated, obsessed with a work of fiction, and this work of fiction is popular enough that there are other people that feel this way about it, across the world, that somehow that that fiction starts to invade our reality.
Cool. So it's like it's that idea of a tulpa.
Mhm.
So if everybody reads and is really into this one concept, it actually becomes a tulpa. It becomes reality in our reality.
The dream of 1,000 cats.
I love that, man. I love that. I don't know if I'd want to see the dream of 1,000 cats, but
I don't think I would either. I'm not a cat person at all.
yeah, wow, man, that's one big litter box.
Yeah, gigantic.
Yeah, so that is such a cool concept. So you have these two agents that are blocking this theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do have a question, and this is more from the creative end of it. Since you are playing with story, are you having to go with public domain story, or are you
That was the decision.
looking for others?
That was the decision I kind of made early on. Is that I wanted for two reasons actually. I wanted to keep it public domain because obviously I'm not Disney,
Right?
or Time Warner, but there are so many just really powerful and culturally significant stories that we don't almost recognize them anymore. I mean, if you look at pick a sitcom, or pick a police procedural, or pick any kind of show on TV, they're probably going to have a Christmas Carol episode,
Right.
right?
It's woven into our psyche at this point.
Mm-hmm. And there are so many works like that. I mean, you look at Frankenstein, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Sure.
So I really wanted to try to get to those works that were almost cultural touchstones that everybody would kind of know because they grew up, in America,
Yeah,
or,
yeah. Well, it's like how people believe in vampires because of a story.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah.
There were stories before, but Bram Stoker's Dracula is the one that changed that. And there are people that fully believe that's real. They may not go, "Oh, it's Dracula," but all the things they learned from that book are reality to them.
Well, and I actually put a little kind of background into this, is that up until the invention of the printing press, there was no one story. There were lots of this oral traditions where people would know this version of the story or that version of the story. What the printing press did was crystallize those versions into one that then everybody could agree on. Well, that's where it started.
Yeah. Very interesting, Will. So, all right. So we get the idea of the book. The Kickstarter is, you are launching the book. This is like issue 1 that you're trying to get out there with this?
Yes. The scripts for the first 4 issues have been already written. We'll be doing some editing on 2, 3, and 4. What we did initially was we did an 8-page story. So it was kind of think of it as a date for us comic creators. I wanted to see how I would work with Pablo as the artist, and how I would work with the letterer, which is Brant Fowler, and the editor. At the time, the editor was Jim Gibbons. We've since moved to Hassan Otsman Elhau, who does Strip Panel Naked and the Eisner Award-winning Panel by Panel. I like to say that members of my team have won Eisner. It's really awesome.
You know what? It's actually a really good thing to say,
man. So we did this 8-page story called No Place Like Home, which is, of course, a crossover with The Wizard of Oz. And it turned out really, really well, I think. In fact, if you want to read it, you can download it for free off of the Kickstarter page.
Pro tip for people out there. Get a sample of the work early.
That's right. And then what we did is we began work on the first issue. And the first issue is, of course, sets up a lot, but it's a crossover with War of the Worlds.
Oh, cool.
I'm a tremendous fan of H.G. Wells, and his significance in science fiction is just unparalleled. I mean, he's, you've got The Time Machine, you've got War of the Worlds, you've got Island of Dr. Moreau. He is...
you talk about those stories that have become, touchstones. They're told over and over and over, whether they admit that's what the story is or not.
Exactly. So I wanted to start off with something that was, I guess, really important to me, but also to kind of orient the character. So Hank Hank Wells is our main sorry, not Wells. Hank Wallace is our main character, and he's a teacher. He teaches. He's an adjunct instructor at a local community college, and his life is not where he wants it to be. He's depressed. In the first issue, we see him give this really impassioned speech up in front of the class about how truth is so important and lies distort reality. And then we see the class, and everybody in the class is looking down at their phone, or they're sleeping or doing something like that. And one person says, so how long does the paper have to be? And he goes, 5 pages. Class dismissed. Okay, so he's not in a happy place, and his girlfriend has tried to help him, but they've broken up. And his supervisor at the college, at the community college, is like, get some help. You're something's wrong. They're trying to help him, and he's just despondent. So he actually encounters a crossover, except he doesn't understand what's going on, because he knows that War of the Worlds is a story. But when a crossover happens, the people that are inside the crossover zone, they think it's just normal reality, right? Oh yeah, there's supposed to be a 75-foot Martian tripod right there. That's just normal. He's like, no, that's not normal. Something's wrong.
Yeah, right.
He ends up encountering 2 crossover agents, and they're like, well, 1, cool that you know that it's a story, and 2, why do you know it's a story? Because that's not normal.
Interesting.
So they grab him, and then that's the first issue ensues. So I'm not going to give away the ending of the first issue, but Hank ultimately
don't give it away. Don't give it away. We want people to do this Kickstarter.
That's right. Hank does eventually get recruited by Crossover Division, because he has a lot of what they look for in Crossover Division agents. A huge familiarity with a vast swath of works from the last few centuries. Sure. Right? Pop culture knowledge. And then his partner is going to be Hector Ramirez, who is a research librarian. So one of the things about a crossover that's kind of cool is that if you're in the crossover, well, let's say you're crossing over with War of the Worlds. Well, that book doesn't exist in the libraries. It doesn't exist in the crossover zone. So they carry around a heavily modified e-reader that has all these books on it. So they have to figure out what the crossover is, and then to end the crossover, they simply read the last line of the story, the ending, to whoever has been dreaming, bridging the gap and causing this crossover to happen. So the cool thing about Hank is that I know it's not a real thing, but I love the idea of it, so I'm going to use it, which is Hank has a photographic memory.
Oh, and
cool. He's read a lot of these books.
So he's going to be able to recognize this because it's in his personal memory bank.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it.
So he and Hector form a pretty good team, and they go out, and they start out as rookie agents, and then they're going to grow. This is a series that ultimately, if I get my way, will probably run around 20 issues.
Okay.
It's assuming, of course, I know that's a big assumption, but
you've got kind of a finite story you're trying to tell.
Exactly. And
I see some more Kickstarters in our future.
I hope so. But the story that I want to tell really is kind of around Hank and the people around Hank as he figures out what's going on, why it's going on, and ultimately how to fix what's broken.
Sure.
I don't want to give too much away that's going to be revealed later, but for him, it's kind of this voyage from unhappiness to excitement and happiness, and then kind of acceptance about the way the world needs to be.
Yeah.
And basically it'll be like 5 4-issue arcs. This first 4 issues, like I said, I've already got the writing mostly done. Hassan's going to make sure I up my game on issues 2, 3, and 4.
Sure.
Make sure that it's the best that we can make it. But then I've also done a one-shot issue that will also, it may just get folded into the regular series at that point, depending on how things are going.
Sure.
But it's, I don't know, it's a fun world to play in. And since
Very
I created
cool.
it better be, right?
Yeah, right. It sounds like it's something you really enjoy. So that is definitely the key. Okay, let's talk about the Kickstarter a little bit here.
Okay.
So as of right now, when we're recording this, you're at 25 days to go. By the time this posts, it'll probably be 24.
Okay.
We have right now your goal is 4,000. We're at 1,438. So you're getting there. You're actually in a great spot here, which is great. So this is a project that's got some interest and lots of time. So those of you that are listening, this is a great chance to get in on a project is going to happen and that people are interested in. So that 20 issue run might very well be a reality, which is very cool.
It may take me a while, but hopefully it will be.
I would rather wait and have quality. So not to point fingers at certain other comic companies that have great ideas, and by issue 6 you go, okay, I'm done. Take your time is what I say to them. So, okay, you've got your tiers. Why don't you highlight a couple of different tiers? You don't have to go through all of them. Just highlight a couple that you think people would be interested in.
Well, I think the 3 probably most important tiers are like the basic physical issue. That has a standard cover by Pablo Martinena, who is our series artist, and it's a beautiful cover. It's got Hank and Hector with kind of some things to come arranged behind them. You see, the Wicked Witch of the West. You see the Martian Walker. And then you see some other things that hopefully will be interesting. As we move
things
forward.
that are leading somewhere. Okay.
Our second cover, so the next tier up is the 2 cover edition. So I've got 2 alternate covers. So in this version, you get the standard cover by Pablo, but then you also get a cover by Connor Hughes of White Ash.
Cool.
And the Game and the Adept, and it's a beautiful cover. It's the Wicked Witch with a nice crystal ball. It's got flying monkeys, and hey, we have to be totally honest. Monkeys are cool. Right?
Yeah, they are, and flying monkeys that just ups the cool beyond. And
exactly.
You've got a picture of that cover on here. That is such a striking cover.
Connor is an amazing artist, and just a joy to work with. If maybe Charlie Stickney is not listening to this, but I would steal Connor away from him in a heartbeat. Charlie's the writer on White Ash, so let's not tell him that.
It's pretty amazing.
So then the third, all 3, then the next level up would basically be all 3 covers. So you get the Pablo's cover, which of course is beautiful and I love it, and then Connor's cover, and then a good friend of mine is Stefan Roux of DC Comics and Dynamite, and he's done so much work across the industry and Marvel. He is, in my mind, he's a superstar, and I think that's literally the case. He did our 3rd cover, and it's pretty spectacular as well.
It is spectacular. I'm looking at it right now. It is amazing,
and it has some, it has the Wicked Witch. It has a certain Martian tripod, and then it has a couple of things to come as well. Perhaps you can identify those, perhaps not.
Oh, I got them. I'm not going to spoil it, but I got them. Plus, you get that temporary tattoo on that one.
That's true.
Which is cool.
We have, so that's actually one of the things I forgot to mention is in the universe, the way a universe is kind of made up of its symbols, right? The way we define our universe is, we have all these symbols. And the way crossover agents protect themselves is they have the World Triad symbol, which describes our reality, tattooed on the back of their hand. And that gives them some level of protection during a crossover so that they can realize that, reality is not the way it should be.
Right.
They don't immediately get engulfed in it. So yeah, that's the temporary tattoos. The second level also comes with stickers, which you get in this level as well, which are the World Triad symbol. Another symbol that's going to become important, which is the Awin. You can look it up. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Okay. And then our logo. And our logo, I love our logo so much. Brant Fowler, he's our letterer and designer. He came up with the logo for us. It actually has the World Triad symbol in it, which I think is really cool. And I think it's really recognizable, and it's just so sleek.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Brant is awesome to work with. The whole team is awesome to work with. Pablo has been generating some beautiful pages, and we are very nearly finished. But I will probably be previewing some pages as they come in on the Kickstarter as well. I try to do updates
got to entice people.
Yeah, updates on a daily basis, maybe every other day. I don't want to annoy people, but I also want to show off some really cool stuff. So
yeah. Well, I always tell people that are doing Kickstarters or crowdfunding, whatever it is, you know what? You got, let's say it's 30 days, annoy them for 30 days.
I think that's probably some really good advice.
There's a big thing about the first 48. We've all heard that term as far as detective work, but the first 48 when you're doing a Kickstarter is really important. And people say, oh, I don't want to annoy. It's like, you know what? During that first 48, hit them every hour on every platform. And then after that, and then after that, go to lighten it up a little bit, but don't worry about annoying people because you're only going to be annoying for a month of their life. Right. And they're not really going to be that annoyed with you.
And you're so right, because I've done previous Kickstarters and you're like, hey, when did you do that? I'm like, it was a month. I was like everywhere. How did you miss? And it's right. It's the nature of the social media beast, is that not everybody's going to see your posts. So
well, I talk about it with people with Twitter all the time, because like with our podcasts, with our podcast network, people will say, oh, I don't want to be annoying. So, when this show comes out, I do a tweet, and then I wait for the next week and I do a tweet. And I'm like, tweets have a 20-minute lifespan at best. You're not annoying anybody. And if they are, well,
they're on Twitter.
Sorry. Yeah, you're choosing to be there. But you could do something every 20 minutes and you're okay. So, okay. You mentioned there was a third one. I'm hoping you're going to say it's the one with the minifigs, because these minifigs are making me crazy. I think they're awesome.
Actually.
Oh, yes.
That's Hank and Hector with their little e-readers. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So anybody that's listening that's not seeing this, he just held up the actual Lego minifigs of the main characters. It's so cool.
Yeah, Justin is pretty amazing. He did these for us. So here's Hank and here's Hector.
Yes.
And then they both have their little modified e-readers, which are just so cool.
So good. I love it.
But yeah, the minifigs are the next level up. You get all three covers and the minifigs. So I try to make sure that as the price tag for each reward tier goes up, that I'm jam packing that reward level with as much cool stuff as I can to making sure that if somebody's going to back at that level, they're really trying to get I'm trying to give them as much value as I can for that level.
Right. Yeah, you're crossing over to the people that are really fans, that are really lit by this, and the more little things like that you can give, the more they're enticed. So, agreed.
Well, the top tier level, and I put this out there because why not? But the top tier level is super expensive, and what we do for that is my wife is an artist, a graphic designer, photographer. And we learned how to make books. So for that level, not only will you get a Kindle with the laser engraved World Triad symbol on the back of it,
sure,
which is what Hank and Hector use, you'll also get a handmade book of the War of the Worlds and a handmade book of the Wizard of Oz.
I'm looking at it on here, and they are so cool. I think you could get people at that. I mean, it's so tempting.
Plus, you get all of the other stuff.
Right.
Basically, we build up to those. And I haven't announced it yet. But you know what? We'll announce it on this. How about
We
that?
got an exclusive.
You
Let's
got an
do
exclusive. A reward level that is going to be unveiled probably tomorrow is going to be a virgin cover variant. It's going to have all 3 covers without any of the trade dress on them. You'll get the 3 covers as well, but then you'll have 3 covers that are just the art.
Just the art, yeah. So hangable.
Yeah, and I love that because the art is amazing. Not to take anything away, I think Brant does an amazing job with the design of the trade dress, but there's something to be said for just the art, you know?
Yep. No, I agree totally. That is really, really cool. Okay. A couple more things. First of all, our risk is really low, as everybody can hear. So that's not a problem there. It's going to happen. This project's going to happen. There's no question. So get in on it. The other thing is, what about stretch goals?
Well, there are some that I'm holding in my pocket at the moment.
You don't have to reveal them here. We've already given some big spoilers. So, but there are some stretch goals. If we can get over this 4,000 hump, you're ready.
Exactly. I'm ready with some, and I think they'll be pretty cool. I think the fans will like them. At least I hope they will.
Okay. Very cool. I'm sure they will. I mean, this is a great project. This book looks amazing. I really encourage everybody to support it. I know the people that have listened to this show have been very supportive of the other, especially the comics things that we've done. We've had a lot of support coming there. This one, I'm telling you, deserves your time, deserves your attention. Another thing that people can do to support this is tell your friends, share it, tweet it, get it out there. I'm sure you'd appreciate that, right, Will?
Oh, you bet. Absolutely.
Annoy your friends. He's only got 24 more days. So
that's right.
And if they get really annoyed, you say, Will told me.
Exactly. So, just blame me.
Yeah, he'll take the heat. Will, where can people find you? And just so you know, I will put all this in the show notes. I have all your information already, so I'll put that in the show notes. But where can they find you? And for the Kickstarter, I just want to be clear. The name is Crossover Division. So if you look up Crossover Division on Kickstarter, number 1, you will find this Kickstarter.
That's right. And you can also, I've got a direct link to it. If you go to crossoverdivision.com/KS for Kickstarter.
Great.
That'll take you right to the project.
Excellent. And as far as your social media, any that you want to highlight?
You can find me at Wallred, that's at WALLRED, that's at Gmail or Twitter or Facebook. But I usually hang out a lot on Twitter and try to promote this, as well as the Kickstarter's a lot of friends. November's been a really great month for comics launches on Kickstarter. And I try to, the great thing about the Kickstarter community, comics community on Kickstarter is it's also really very supportive. So, you know, we retweet a lot of each other's projects to help each other out.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Actually, people are going to hear the other one before they hear this one, but I've got another one that I'm doing. As soon as I finish with you, I've got another interview I'm doing that is going to air before yours because he's only got 8 days left.
Wow.
And every one of these that I've got coming up are every one of them, like, oh man, they would all get my money in the comic store. No question. So they deserve your support on the Kickstarters.
Well, thank you very much.
So thank you, Will. This was a lot of fun. And listen to Will on the Quasar podcast. What do we call it? Quantum Zone.
That's the Quantum Zone. Yep.
Quantum Zone.
Phil, Matt, and I have been hanging out there for quite a while talking about Quasar because, hey, I love Marvel's Quasar.
Yeah, and it's on the Capes and Lunatics feed. So if you want to find that, just go to southgatemediagroup.com, the same place you're finding this show, and look up Capes and Lunatics. And I'm building, it's not built yet, so back off, Will, a page for you guys. So there'll be its own page that people are going to access those shows on, which would be
awesome.
Really cool. Yes. So that's it. Thank you, Will, and great luck with this.
Hey, thank you very much.
I've put the link to the Kickstarter in the show notes, and we'll also have it on posts at our social media. Once again, sharing this project with your followers and friends is key, so please be an active participant and spread the word. While you're in the mood, please share this episode. That draws attention to this show, which we can always use. Oh, and please rate and review us. It only takes a few seconds and makes a huge impact on how many people see when we post a new episode. If you have a crowdfunding project, reach out to me at southgatemediagroup@gmail.com, on Twitter @rsouthgate, or on Facebook at Go Fund This Podcast. Tell me a little about the project or what you create, and I'll consider featuring it on the show. I would love to help you make your project a reality. Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, go fund this.